Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chat GPT Basics class offered by Santa Clara City Library. My name is Paul. I am going to be running the class tonight. I'm an employee here at Central Park Library in the technology department. I just wanted to mention a few things before we get started with the class. The first is that although we're going to be looking at Chat GPT tonight, we do not have any affiliation or any endorsement of Chat GPT. We're using it because it's a free service and because it's very popular and a lot of people want to know about it. This is going to be a 30 to 35-minute program. We're going to have time at the end for questions. So if you have questions, you can feel free to ask them during my presentation. What you're going to do is go down to the bottom of your screen to the Q&A button. You can type your question in and submit it, and then we will look through them and answer as many questions as we can before we run out of time tonight. And so I'll try to leave 10 to 15 minutes depending on how many questions we see come in. And if we run out of time, your question wasn't answered, or if you just have more things you want to talk to us about, you are welcome to come to the Central Park Library to our Technology Center. That is open anytime the Central Park Library is open. It's always staffed, and there will be someone there who is there to answer all of your questions related to technology, and that includes Chat GPT. So feel free to come on by, and we can provide you with some one-on-one help. And then finally, this class is going to be recorded. So once it's over, we'll post it up on the Santa Clara City Library YouTube channel, and we will send out an email when that happens so that you know you can go and review it if you would like to. All right, and with that all out of the way, we're going to get started with the actual class. So let me switch my screen share over. I have a little PowerPoint I'm going to do before we start looking at the actual Chat GPT. Okay, PowerPoint is up. So let's start off just by looking at what Chat GPT is, because I'm sure that's what a lot of you are here to find out. So at its most basic, you can think of Chat GPT as a computer program. It was made by a company called OpenAI, and they made it to be a service that can respond to written prompts that you give in a conversational way that kind of mimics the way a knowledgeable human might respond to you. So it's only a text input and output. So you might have heard of other AI services that can do things like generate pictures or generate audio or video. ChatGPT doesn't do any of that. It is strictly a chat function. And we'll look into what that means just after my PowerPoint here. And the way that they created this was they trained it. That is to say, they input a lot of data, and they took that from all over the internet, from sites like Wikipedia. If there were books that have been uploaded to the internet, it gobbled those up, and even public social media pages. So this wide range of human knowledge it's been trained on, and it uses a large language model algorithm, and that's just a fancy term for its programming. And it uses that to synthesize that data and be able to spit it back out when you ask it questions. And we're going to talk about some things that Chat GPT is good at. So ChatGPT has strengths. It is very versatile. So based on your prompts, it can respond in all kinds of different ways. We're going to look at a bunch of different examples, but you don't have to be particularly complex in your responses. You don't have to be very specific. It's going to give you long and detailed responses, even if you just give it a phrase or two of input to work with. If you don't like an answer, it'll also redo it for you. So there are ways to regenerate answers. There are ways to hone in and make it more specific. And that's all stuff we're going to look at. But along with that, there are limitations to ChatGPT. So one big one is it was trained, the knowledge that it was given all ends after September 2021. So it's not adding on to what it knows. Once they put all this knowledge in, they kind of cut it off. So if you tried to ask it, who won the Super Bowl in 2022, it's not going to be able to tell you. It can do a lot of really complex things, but it can't give you information, anything after September 2021. Another thing to be aware of is that even though it's designed to mimic human responses, it doesn't actually understand things the way that we do. It doesn't process information the way the human brain does. So you might find that when you're using Chat GPT, it could give you, somewhat nonsensical or rambling or even just downright inaccurate answers. Or inconsistent information. So you always want to be sure that you're using Chat GPT in conjunction with other resources. You want to fact check the information that it gives you. And we might get to see some examples of bad information as we go through. So the bottom line is don't trust this to be your end all be all. You want to use it as a resource just like you would use any other resource. And that is with, critical thinking on your end. And then last really important thing to know about ChatGPT before we get going is they use your data after a fashion. They're not selling it to anybody. They're not going to turn around and take the input that you give to another company or to someone you don't want to have it, but they do like to use it to train future versions of their AI. They want to make a better service, and the high number of people who are using this service are contributing to their ability to do that. And there is a way to prevent that, and I'll go through how you can turn that feature off if that's not something that you want to happen. And another thing to keep in mind about your data is that it's anonymous. So even though they're keeping it for their purposes, it is in no way attached to you, your account, your name. It can't be traced back to you. And then they also put in some ethical guidelines for ChatGPT. So it won't let you ask, if you ask something questionable or even downright illegal, it's not going to give you an answer. It's going to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that because of how I was programmed. So those are just some good things to keep in mind as we go through. And now that we've done that, I'm going to hop right in to ChatGPT itself. And we're going to get to see exactly what it looks like. And we'll start off at the login screen. And let me just get my screen share going again. So this is the login screen. And actually, I'll go one step further back even. If you look up at the search bar here in my web browser, you're going to see that I went to chat.openai.com, and it auto-filled it in because I've been there before. But I'm going to type that in and press enter. That's what takes me to this login screen. So it gives you two very simple options. You can either log in if you've already made an account, or if you haven't, you can sign up for an account. And I'll just briefly go into what that entails. If you've ever signed up for another online service like email, you're probably familiar with this process. You have to give them an email address. If you have an existing address with Google or Microsoft or Apple, they'll let you use those. I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but just be aware that if you want to create an account, it's going to ask you for a phone number to connect it to. And the reason it does that is so that it knows that you're not, someone trying to create lots and lots of accounts to spam them, because it's going to limit each phone number to only 2 active accounts. So just keep in mind that you will have to give it a phone number that can receive text messages when you want to make your account. So for now, I'm not going to sign up for a new account. I'm just going to log into the one I already have. There I am. Okay, and now that we've logged in, that takes us to this opening page for ChatGPT. And just so you know, this is the web-based version of ChatGPT. There's also an app that you can download for your mobile device, either iPhone or Android. And that works very similar to what we're going to see today. The screen might look a little bit different, but all of the input is the same. It's the same algorithm, the same AI behind it. So you should be able to use the app once we've gone through this walkthrough on the web version. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this bar at the bottom where it says send a message. This is how I'm going to communicate with ChatGPT. I can just type in whatever message I want to. And I think to start, I'm going to ask it to introduce itself. So I'm just going to say, please introduce yourself. And you're going to see just how it generates text. So you can see it comes really quickly. And it gave me this this nice 2-paragraph answer in kind of a conversational tone. So like I said, it tries to mimic the way a real person might talk to you. It's telling you a little bit about itself. It mentions the thing about its knowledge only going up until September 2021. And it tells you a little bit about what it's meant to do. It's supposed to answer your questions, to engage in conversations, help you with all kinds of different topics. And so we're going to go into quite a few of those. And even with what we're going to do today, we're still only going to scratch the surface of what this can do. So we will have classes in the future on this and other AI services. So keep an eye out for those in your Santa Clara City Library email notices. All right. So the next thing I'm going to look at is how to start a new chat. So you can see that here we have this kind of text message thread going. It probably looks similar to what you're used to on your phones in text message app. So you can think of this as one conversation. So I can keep writing messages here, and it'll keep on responding. Sometimes it takes a little bit to generate a response, as you can see, but it'll keep on going. But if I wanted to start from scratch, if I wanted to do a brand new chat, I'm going to go up here into the top left. I'm going to click on New Chat. And that's going to bring me back to this blank screen. And keep an eye on this bar on the left as I start my new chat. You're going to see that it fills in some information there. But I just want to start off with a pretty simple thing. Like I said, you can do almost any kind of conversation, any kind of chat with this service. So one thing I thought of was, shopping for gifts for people, right? It's something that we all have to do. It's something that never really stops. And sometimes it's tough to brainstorm ideas for gifts. Say you have, a teenage daughter in your life and you just don't know what to get her. So with Chat GPT, you could simply put in, give me 3 gift ideas for a teenage girl. I'm going to put that in, and it's going to come back with some pretty broad suggestions. These might be helpful. Maybe these are obvious ideas. Maybe these are things that I would have thought of on my own. So how is that all that useful? Maybe I need to get a little more specific, and that's something I can do with Chat GPT. So I'm going to think about this teenage daughter I'm trying to get my gifts for. What does she like? Oh, she likes to go on TikTok a lot, and I know she likes to watch a lot of dance videos. So I'm going to say that to Chat GPT. What if she likes those TikTok dance videos? And it's going to take that in context of the first question I asked. And it's going to say, okay, so you want gift ideas, but you want them to be about TikTok dance videos, right? So it gives me gift ideas, and it gives me little summaries of what each gift idea is. So I could, sign her up for a dance class or a workshop. That sounds a little bit expensive though. So maybe I want to specify, I don't want to spend too much money. I like my daughter, but maybe not that much. So I want to spend less than, that's a joke. I want to spend less than $50, let's say. So I'm going to tell it that I want to spend less than $50. So it's going to give me ideas that are maybe on a little, smaller budget. And you can just keep going as long as you want, get a specific, drill down as much as you need to, and use this as it's a great brainstorming tool is the idea that I'm getting at. And before I move on to the next topic, remember I said keep an eye on the left bar over here. So you can see that this first chat that I did, it gave it an automatic title. It says Introducing Chat GPT AI. And then when I started this second one, it also started that new chat in the left bar, and it gave it an automatic title, Teenage Girl Gift Ideas. So it'll keep on doing that. The more new chats you do, they'll all stay here in your history, and it'll go in chronological order. So you can see I've only just started, so it says today. But if I were to go back another day and try to generate some new chats, it's going to have these on today's date, and then it'll keep on putting them in. So I'm going to move on to a new topic. I feel pretty good about the gift ideas that I got. So now I want to talk a little bit about how it can be used as kind of a way to help you with structuring or planning out things. So let's say I'm a high school student. I'm trying to study for the AP US History exam. That's a tough exam, and I need help, all the help I can get with studying for that. So I want to make a timeline, and I don't know where to start. So I'm simply going to plug in, I'm going to tell Chat GPT, I'm studying for my AP US History exam. Make a study timeline for me of things to do over the next 4 months to prepare. That's my timeline. I'm going to put that in. And you can see it's going to give me this pretty thorough answer. It's going to do it quickly, and it's going to go week by week. And this is all just based on this one little phrase that I gave it. It gets real specific, and it even comes with this disclaimer. Keep in mind this timeline is a general guideline, and you can adjust it to suit your specific needs in place. So not only is it giving me this timeline, it's even giving me a little bit of advice to go along with it. And again, I can get a little more specific, like say I want to work on the Civil War. You know, I don't feel so great about my knowledge on the Civil War. So I'll just tell it I need to focus more on the Civil War. And it's going to give me this same outline, but it's going to adjust it to kind of talk a little bit more about, or give me, you know, a little more review on the Civil War. And that, you know, gives me a little better structure and a way to plan out what I need to do. So I'm not, you know, scrambling at the last moment to figure this out. So next up, I'm going to show you a little bit about how you can format the content that it gives you. And I'm also going to try to throw it a curveball. So remember, we talked about how its knowledge doesn't go past September of 2021. So let's say that, again, I'm a high school student. I'm trying to find a college to go to, but I have specific criteria in mind. I want to stay close to home, so I'm going to try to stay within 50 miles of Santa Clara. I'm a swimmer. I want a place with a Division I swim team I can try out for, and I'm going to major in computer science, so I need a computer science program. I can just tell it all of that. I'm going to press enter, and look what it tells me. It says, I'm sorry, I don't have any real-time data. So it's telling me right off the bat, you know, my information might not be exactly what you want. It might not, I might not be able to provide you with a current list of colleges. So I'm going to have to get a little more specific if I want this information. And I have to keep this caveat in mind that it's not going to give me current information. It's just going to be as of September 2021. But let's say I want to proceed regardless. So I'm just going to retype the message that I gave it before, but I'm going to add this little thing at the end as of September 2021 so that it knows it's okay to give me that information. I'm going to click it again. All right, and again, it gives me the disclaimer. This is information as of September 2021. Here's a list of the universities that have the criteria that you asked for. But I don't really like how this information is laid out. Let's say I want it to look a little bit different, a little easier to follow. What I can do is I can tell it, show me this as a table, and I don't have to repeat anything else. All I have to do is show me this as a table, and watch what it's going to do. It gives me the same information, but now it's laid out like, you know, an Excel spreadsheet. So I have it all there. It tells me in, you know, a much simpler way to understand where these are, whether it has the things that I want. And it even said that Stanford and Cal have strong computer science programs. I didn't even ask for that, but it gave me that information anyway. That's fantastic. And, you know, I realized as I was searching for these, this isn't all the information that I want. I would like to know how to get to their websites as well. So I'm just going to tell it that. All I'm going to say is add the college websites to the table. It's going to come back. Oh, wow. So this is funny. This shows you the variability in responses, because when I was practicing this earlier, it let me do this. But now it says it can't provide specific website URLs because of the limitations of its training data. So here's what I'm going to try. There's this button down here that says regenerate. So one thing to know about Chat GPT is that it's variable in the responses that it gives. So every time you ask it to generate a response, it's going to be a little bit different, because every time it's pulling from all the information that it knows, and it never pulls it in exactly the same way twice. So if I click this regenerate button, it's going to prompt this again, add the college websites to the table, and I'm going to see if I can get anything different to come up. All right, here we go. So this time it worked. This is what I was expecting. So I'm glad that I was able to regenerate this answer. So you can see it added one last column here on the right side, and now I have links to all of the different websites for the universities that I'm interested in. And one more time, it tells me this knowledge is only good up to September 2021. It wants to make sure that you know that. And then you might notice there are a few buttons here down in the right corner. This first button, what that's going to do, if I click it, it just changes to a little check mark. And what that does is it copies all of this information that it provided in its most recent answer. So if I wanted to take this information and paste it somewhere else, I just have to press this little clipboard button. I'm going to take it to my online notepad that I have queued up here. I'm going to paste it. And it doesn't look very pretty because it doesn't know how to format the table, but it does give you the ability to paste all that information into a different place. The next two buttons are a thumbs up and a thumbs down, pretty self-explanatory, but basically you're telling OpenAI, yes, I like that answer, or no, I did not like that answer. So if I say, yeah, I liked it, it's going to ask me for a little bit of additional feedback. What did I like about the response? I'm just going to say it was thorough, information I needed. I'm going to submit that. Great, so I liked that response. Next up, I'm going to show you some of the things that it can do in regard to content generation. So far, it's given me some ideas, but we can get a little bit different. We can ask it to do some more creative things, let's say. So this really tripped me out the first time that I saw it in action, but Chat GPT can actually write stories for you just based on small prompts. And not just stories, it can do them as poems, it can do them as song lyrics. So just to give you an example of that, I'm just going to ask it to write a short poem for a young audience about a puppy who gets lost and finds his way home. Let's say I want to, read my kids a little poem and I need some inspiration. And a short poem is obviously a relative thing. It gave me quite a few verses, and you can see it's kind of doggerel. It's not the best poetry ever committed to page, but it's impressive for a machine learning algorithm to be able to write this poem to kind of get the gist of what I wanted. And if I wanted to, I could even tell it to regenerate. If this poem is close but no cigar, I can see if it'll give me a better option with the next one. Yeah, so the poem is a little bit different, goes into some, different activities the puppy gets into. But by and large, it's a similar thing. I'm not so crazy about this poem. I'm going to say I dislike this answer. What was the issue with the response? Poem wasn't that good. Frowny face. I'm going to submit feedback. All right, and it's going to tell me you can improve the model, and you might not have noticed in the background while I was telling it I didn't like the response, but it actually generated a new one right when I said I disliked the response. So here it's going to give me two options. It's going to say, which of these do you like the best? I'm going to say the new answer is better. So as you go through, like I said, you're actually training Chat GPT to create better answers. You're giving OpenAI more data to work with. But if you didn't want to do that, there is a way to turn it off. And I'm going to show you that right now. If you come down to the bottom left over here, you can see where your account name is, and there's a little 3-dot menu. You can open that and you can go into settings. And if you go into settings, there's an option for data controls. And right here, chat history and training, this is the option that you want to turn off if you don't want your data to be used to train models, if you want it to just be erased and not used in the future. However, if you turn this off, it's not going to save all of these different chats that you do. So it's kind of, give and take. They're not going to save your data, but you're not going to be able to save it either. So I'm not going to turn that off for now, but this is where you would go if you wanted to do that. You can also export all your data. So that's just going to take it offline so you can access it if you're not on the internet and you need to get to it for some reason. And you need to get it all, more than just what copy paste can do for you. And then you also have the option to delete your account entirely if you're just totally freaked out by Chat GPT and you don't want to continue. And I understand if that's the case. All right, we're going to talk about some more things you can do with Chat GPT. So let's say I had a contractor come by my house recently. And he did a good job, but I was looking over my invoice and it looks like I might have gotten overcharged. And I have a tendency to fly off the handle sometimes. I know that about myself. So I want to make sure that I go about this diplomatically. I want to send him an email, but I don't want it to seem like I'm being accusatory. So I'm going to ask for ChatGPT's help with that. What I'm going to say is write an email from me, Paul, to my contractor, Fred, Just let him know I think I was overcharged for the roof repair he did for me. I'd just like him to look into it. And I can add the instruction to be very polite, and it'll know what I mean. So it's going to write this email for me. Okay, it's writing a long email. Fred is not going to want to read all that. So I'm going to say, make it about half as long. It's still going to get the point across. But again, just an example of how you can kind of refine the answers that you get to better suit what you're looking for, better suit your needs. And here we go. And you can see it took a little bit longer with this response. Sometimes that happens when you ask it to generate multiple responses, and that speed just kind of gives you an idea of the computing power that's required to operate this machine learning algorithm, and how many people are using it at a given time. You know, it takes quite a bit of computing power. But here we go. So I'm happy with this email. I can just copy it. I can paste it into my email. I could make some alterations myself if I wanted to. That's always a good idea with Chat GPT. Another thing to keep in mind about this service is the more familiar you get with it, the more you'll start to see that it has a very distinguishable voice. It tends to talk, you know, in a very obvious way. Once you've seen Chat GPT a lot, you can see, you know, when other people are using it. So, you know, I would recommend not using it so much as something to just copy and paste information, but more as a starting point. You know, if you need some inspiration, if you need to get an outline going for your essay, if you want help writing a resume and you just need a framework, if same with the cover letter, all kinds of things that you might need to write, but you know, you just feel like you could use a little bit of extra help. These are all things that Chat GPT can do to some degree. Another great thing that it can do is it can help you with math and coding. And this is something that a lot of people are using it for. You know, and I'll just show you a very basic example, which is I want to know how pi is calculated. I don't remember my middle school or high school geometry, and I just was curious to remember what pi is, how it's calculated. So let's see what it tells me. It's going to tell me a lot. And a lot of this, honestly, is probably too advanced for me, certainly, but for most people who are curious about a topic like this. And it's, you know, it's definitely over-informing me. It's being very thorough. Like I said, it gives you very thorough answers, sometimes too thorough, sometimes too rambling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, can you change this answer so that a 12-year-old could understand it? And it simplifies the explanation. It knows what you mean when you say it, a 12-year-old could understand it. And basically it simplifies all the different explanations that it gave. So if I spent more time on this, I might be able to drill, you know, get it to be more specific about, or get it to understand better that I just want to know how pi is calculated simply. I don't need to know, you know, all these different methods, but I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. I have one other main thing that I wanted to show you that I think ChatGPT can be really useful for, and that is translating. So you may have used a service like Google Translate, which is already pretty impressive. A shortcoming of Google Translate, though, is that it's only going to translate things literally for you. So it's not going to understand the nuances of different languages and how certain idioms might not translate from one language to another. Certain words can mean different things. ChatGPT is really good at taking languages into context and giving you a response that is better reflects how you would actually converse with someone in a different language versus just a one-to-one word-for-word translation. So how I'm going to demonstrate that, let's say I'm lucky enough to take a vacation to France and I visit the Louvre, and I want to ask one of the employees at the Louvre what their favorite art is there. So I'm just going to ask ChatGPT, how do I ask an art museum employee what their favorite works in the museum are in French? Let's see what I get. Okay, so there's the phrase. Cool. I don't speak French at all. I don't know how to pronounce words in French. So that might stymie me. On the other hand, I can ask ChatGPT, how do I go about pronouncing that French phrase? And it's going to come back with a phonetic phonetic kind of walkthrough of this phrase in French. So maybe I'll do a little bit better. And you can see that still Chat GPT is not a perfect solution. Certainly I'm closer than I was with my absolute zero knowledge of French, but I'm not going to be able to converse all of a sudden in French just because I had spent some time on Chat GPT. So like I said, you want to use it in conjunction with other learning you might be doing. You want to use it just as another tool in your toolkit. Don't think of it as something that's necessarily going to replace everything you do. It's more of a work aid at its most basic. So we have a little more time, and I don't see a lot of questions in the chat. Please, again, feel free to submit any questions you have anytime, and I will start answering them. But since I'm not seeing a ton of them, well, actually, I'll ask John before we keep going. John is my my other person on the call here. He's going to read off some questions to me if we have some ones that need answering. John? Stuff. Okay, we're going to go through a couple of questions.
Okay, here's the first question that we saved here for the end. It was a person that asked, could you talk more about detecting if Chat GPT was used to generate something? You mentioned becoming familiar with its voice, but I also heard there are online checkers.
That is true. There are online checkers. I won't claim to be an expert about them, but I do know that they have come under fire because a lot of them have given false positives. That is to say, people submitted work that was original, that was not written by Chat GPT, and the online checkers still said that they thought it was written by Chat GPT. So it's not a foolproof system. As far as I know, there is no foolproof way to say definitively, yes, this was written by Chat GPT, or no, it was not. I think familiarity with the service, understanding the voice, like the question asker said, might be the best way that we have at the moment. I think that it gets kind of sticky, just submitting things to a checker and taking that as the gospel truth, just like you wouldn't want to take everything Chat GPT itself says as the gospel truth.
Okay, next question is, can it pronounce the words for you?
So that's a great question. Chat GPT itself does not have a text and a text to voice option within itself, but you can copy and paste what it gives you and put it in, say, Google's text to voice. Let me see if I can pull that up really quick. Text to speech, that's what I'm going for. So Google has a text to speech service. We're not going to go all the way into it, but you can find these online, and there are programs you can get that will give you text to speech. So you can use Chat GPT in conjunction with these other services as a starting point to get you kind of on the road, but you probably will need to combine it with other things to get further results if you're trying to get pronunciation or any kind of audio feedback like that.
All right, next question. When you log out, do you lose your chats?
No, you do not. So you can log out. It's going to save everything you do. In fact, I can just demo it for us really quick. I'm going to log out and I'll go back in. So there I am. I'll enter my password one more time. And you can see everything that I put in. All of these different topics are still here. Oh, and I forgot to mention one thing you can do with these topics. If you don't like the title that it automatically generates, you can change it. And then you'll have your own title. You can also delete chats that you don't want anymore. If you just want to go one by one, you just click on this little trash can. That'll get rid of them. Additionally, there's this one little control that closes the sidebar. If you don't want to see all of those, you just want to have the chat window open, you can hide it and then bring it back when you want it again.
Okay, next question. I think this one is asking how to start a resume chat. So I think, how do you go back to a chat that you've done before? Will it just pick right up if you go back to it?
Yes, absolutely. So since I'm already on this one, I went back to my second to last chat, calculating pi methods, and you can see it's still there. The answers that it gave me are still there. And yes, it will pick right back up with the context of our previous conversation. If I say, I don't know, even simpler. Let's say I still don't understand exactly what it's saying. Now it's going to explain it to me, maybe like a kindergartner would understand it. But yes, it will pick right back up where you left off anytime you come back to one of these chats.
Okay, next question. This one's a little more complex. Can it do complex computations or do proofs of math theorems or state formulas of chemicals?
Okay, so those are a few slightly different things. I can't claim to be an expert in chemistry, so I couldn't tell you if that is or isn't too complex for Chat GPT to do. I can tell you that mathematical proofs are a little bit beyond its capabilities. It's not designed to do really complex math equations like that. Its build is more of a conversational tool, so its strength is really in human language, not as much in high level math. However, it is able to do coding languages. Those still qualify in its, in the algorithm's head as a human language. But again, that's something that you don't want to just copy and paste. If you ask it to do some code for you, you definitely want to review it and make sure that it's something that's going to work if you're using this as a tool to help you with your coding.
Okay, next question. Can you show an example when planning a trip, like for vacations, like maybe an itinerary or what to see if you're going somewhere?
Absolutely, that's a great idea. So I'm going to open up a brand new chat. I'm going to say, you know what? Let's say I have two vacation destinations in mind, but I'm not sure which one I want to go to. I want to go on vacation to Los Angeles or Lake Tahoe. Two very different places, but I can't decide between them. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to give me a little bit of help. So it looks like what it's going to do is give me some information about each one of them. Just from scanning this Lake Tahoe, looks like it's going to be more my scene. So I'm going to say, plan an itinerary. And I misspelled itinerary. I'm going to leave that because I'm going to show you it's still going to know what I'm talking about, even though I mistyped that word. Tahoe for a 3-day trip. And there you have it. It's not only giving me a day by day itinerary, it's even breaking my days into different chunks. It's telling me what I can do in the morning. It's telling me what I can do in the summer, what I can do in the winter. So again, based on what is a very simple prompt, it's giving me a pretty thorough and well-reasoned answer. And again, you can just keep on getting more and more specific with answers. But I'll stop there for now.
Okay, next one. I'm not sure if you know the answer to this. I looked at it briefly. What advanced features are in the upgrade? So the 4.0 version of ChatGPT. We don't subscribe to it here at the library, so I'm not sure if Paul knows more what it does.
That's correct. I've never seen what it personally does. And that's not something that I went over, but you might notice when I open the new chat window, we have two options here. We have Chat GPT 3.5 and Chat GPT 4. So what the question was alluding to is Chat GPT 4, which is a paid service to a more advanced AI chatbot. And I honestly don't know specifics. I just know what it's telling us right here. It caps your answers. So that tells me that it's a pretty powerful service because if it, if it's making you cap the answers, that means that people are using it for a lot of stuff. So it's probably pretty good. But if, you want to go online or I'll do some research, you can come in and ask at the tech center and maybe we'll be able to answer that question better in the future.
Okay, next question. Put your web skills to practice here. Could you please provide an example for generating code and how to execute?
Yeah, sure. So again, the input is going to be just as simple as anything. So let's say I want to generate a Python script. That's a coding language that a lot of people use. And I'm just going to do a simple one. I'm going to say a Python script that will add two numbers. So make me a Python script that will add two numbers that I input. Okay, so you can see not only is it going to give you a coding snippet, it even formats it in a little, window that looks like coding console. So it does the color coding. It does, the little notes that you can use that tell you what each snippet of the code does. But again, I'm not very well versed in Python. I couldn't tell you 100% if this is accurate, if this is actually the way that you're going to use Python to do this. So you need to have a little bit of knowledge of coding if you're going to really try to use this, and you're going to want to check the results. Even though it says copy and paste this code, your mileage may vary. You'll have to make sure it does what it says it does. And I'll do one more example. Let's try out HTML. Let's say I wanted to make a website and I wanted to know where to start. Make me a website format in HTML with a green background and a table. So let's see what it makes of that. So here we go. And if you're not familiar with HTML, this probably looks like gobbledygook to you. So you do need to have a little bit of coding background just to even understand what it's saying. But if you do have that background and this makes sense to you, then you'll know what it's talking about, and you can, rearrange it to suit your needs. You can see that it even put in some text from the table. I didn't ask it to do that, but it went ahead and did it anyway. So it tries to be as helpful as it can.
Okay, this is a great question. Does it allow you to search certain keywords in your chat history? Let's say you have a really long chat. Can you search out items in there easily?
That's a good question. The way that I would do that is I would actually use the search function in Chrome. So you can either go up to this three-dot window, and this is going to be the same across different web browsers, more or less. You can go to the options menu, you can go to find, or you can just press Control F like it says, and it gives you this find window. You can see that I went back to this conversation and the screen is still blank. Sometimes it doesn't quite load it the first time you click on it. That's just a glitch that I've noticed with Chat GPT. And I'll just search Tahoe in this chat, and it will highlight all of the instances of the word Tahoe in the chat, and then I can just come back up through. And that's the way that I would search different chats. So yes, that's possible, not specifically through Chat GPT, but thankfully the web browser lets us do that. All right, I
Okay.
think we have time for one, maybe two more questions, John.
Okay, sounds good. Let's try this one. Can you show us what the choices are when you tap the forward button in the upper right?
The forward button in the upper right.
I'm not sure where that
Or
is.
I'm not either. I'm sorry, I'm not totally sure what that question is referring to.
Hopefully, I'm not meaning the browser forward. That's my fault. I should have read this one a little more carefully.
That's okay.
Okay, well
Um,
let's try another one. Let's move on. This one's actually pretty good because I was wondering this myself and I'm not sure. Can you input a file to be analyzed? I'm assuming if it's all text. Can you put a file in to be analyzed, summarized, or organized?
yes, absolutely. That's not a feature that I went into, but that's a great question. So you can't upload the file itself. That's not going to translate into ChatGPT. It's strictly a text interface. You can copy and paste all of the words that are in your file, and you can ask it to do something like the question asked, either summarize. So let's say I had this ready just in case a question like this came up. So I have this cover letter, right? It's an example cover letter that I just found on some website. I'm going to ask it to proofread my cover letter. That's all I need to do. And I'm just going to paste the text of the cover letter into there. Okay, when I ask it to proofread, all it's doing is checking my spelling and grammar, I guess. Let's say improve my cover letter. So this is kind of what the question was asking, I think. It also, they asked if it can summarize or condense text. And yes, that is absolutely the case. If you have like a long news article, you're not interested in reading the whole thing, you just want the bullet points, you can copy and paste it into Chat GPT and and tell it, you just want it summarized in 1 or 2 paragraphs. It'll do that for you. Whether the output that it gives you is actually a good summary of the article is a question, that is kind of a case by case thing, but you are certainly able to do that, to ask it to do that.
Okay, we'll just do this last one. It's really quick.
Great.
It's this: are there other AI chatbots that are free?
Yes, there are. So the other big one that you might have heard of is Bard by Google AI. So it's very similar to Chat GPT. The big difference is that it's trained on a different algorithm that the people at Google made versus Chat GPT was made by people at the company OpenAI. But Bard is also free to use. You just have to make a Google account. And you're going to be able to do a lot of the same things that you can do on Chat GPT. And you might find that you like the answers you get from Bard a little bit better. I know when it came out, it kind of had a reputation for maybe not being as good as Chat GPT, but I think it's improved since then. So yeah, feel free to check out all kinds of different free services. And again, we're going to do more classes about AI services because a lot of people are interested in it. This was a very popular offering, so keep an eye out for those, and Bard might be on the menu in the future. And I think that is all we're going to have time to do. Question-wise, thank you so much. We still have questions pouring in, and I wish we could get to all of them, but we're just about out of time here. In fact, we're over time. So we're going to have to cut it off there. Again, if you have any more questions that you want to ask, please, please, please feel free to come on into the Tech Center at the Central Park Library. We're there all open hours of the Central Park Library. And if you want to be notified about future classes, you can just go to our library website. That's going to be sclibrary.org. I'm going to go there. And when I get there, I get this little pop-up message that says stay connected. And if I enter my email address, I can sign up for different news, different events that are happening at the library, and I can specify that I want to be sent news about technology classes and different adult programs, children's programs, whatever. That's where a lot of our library news is going to come out. So please connect with us so that you can come to our future offerings. And then the last thing before we close out that I want to mention is when you leave this webinar, you're going to get a pop-up window with a survey in it. If you wouldn't mind, please taking a few minutes just to fill that out. That really helps us to improve our offerings to give the people what they want. So you can tell us what topics, specific to Chat GPT you'd like to see in future classes, or if there's anything else under the sun related to technology you want to see in a future class. That's where you can tell us in that form. And if you don't have time right now, but you still want to give us suggestions, there is also under the services tab on our website, this technology class requests button. And that's just going to take you to a version of the same form where, again, you can tell us what you're interested in learning, what kind of classes you would like to see offered, and whether you would rather have them in person or online like this one. And that's another great way to let us know, what it is you're interested in hearing about.